Hey guys, there's a subject that I haven't been wanting to get into, but I keep getting asked about it or keep receiving comments about it on other videos. So it's the subject of suicide in Japan. World Health Organization did a study in 2009 that said that Japan had the 8th highest suicide rate in the world. And they're averaging about 30,000 suicides a year. So the first thing I think we should look at is why it's considered an option in Japan. One reason is their religion doesn't really prohibit it as such. So they're mostly Shinto and Buddhist here, and I know, for example, Christianity, many Christians are told if they kill themselves that they'll go to hell. They don't have that in Japanese religion. So that's one thing out of the picture. The other thing is that culturally it's always been considered an option, and often it's an honourable option. So Japanese history is full of stories of examples of this. During battles, of course, and the Bushido thing, the samurai thing, where dying was always considered to be just an accepted part of the process, and if they found themselves in a position where they weren't going to win, rather than submit to their enemy, they'd kill themselves. So there's a lot of examples. I did one story on the White Tigers, which is a group of samurai, young samurai, aged 13 to 17, that fought in the Boshin War. And in about 1869 they found themselves in an unwinnable position and all killed themselves. So the way it's seen traditionally in Japan is a reasonable option. As for why people kill themselves in Japan, World Health Organization say the highest cause is depression, the second highest cause is illness, and the third highest cause is debt. They also say that a third of people that kill themselves in Japan are over 60. So once again, it's the fact that they're able to consider it as an option. So if they find themselves seriously ill and they know they're not going to recover, killing themselves is an option to relieve the stress or worry on their family. Depression, unfortunately in Japan, mental illness is not viewed in a very modern way. They don't talk about it. Going and seeing a psychologist or a counsellor or a shrink or somebody is not really accepted here. Unfortunately it's considered to be weakness, and people that have any sort of mental illness are sort of shunned. So people with depression here have a really hard time because they can't talk about it. And I mean, another part of Japanese culture is people don't talk about their problems with each other because they don't want to bring other people down. So they'll suffer in silence and put up a brave front and keep smiling, even though inside they could have lots of problems. And that's really common. I mean, it's very unusual for people here to tell you if they are having a problem with something. They keep it to themselves. So that obviously contributes to depression. And then, once again, suicide's an option. So also there's a lot of pressure in Japanese society to succeed. So, succeeding is considered to be really important. So if they don't succeed, once again, it's considered an option. So from the perspective of people outside Japan looking at it, I mean, I've got to say a lot of the comments I get on videos are negative. I think it's because there's very few things about Japan that people can criticise. I mean, Japan haters, and for some reason there is Japan haters out there. I don't know why they visit my channel, but Japan haters, the two biggest things that they like to point to is World War II, which is 65 years ago, and I mean, since then Japan has, hasn't fired a shot in anger outside Japan, whereas the rest of the world has been killing each other all over the place. But Japan haters love to point out World War II. They don't often mention the fact that it was the only time a nuclear bomb's been used and how many people were killed. But they like to point out Japan's error in World War II, which Japanese people are well aware of, and that's why they're so peace-loving now. But anyway, the other thing that Japan haters like to point out is the suicide thing. I guess it's because, you know, my videos, most of them are put Japan in a good light. So, you know, to try and compete, I don't know why they need to compete, but to try and compete with Japan, they need to go, yeah, but what about the suicide rate, you know? So, you know, it's unfortunate. It's the way it is. To be honest, you know, I'm learning to understand it. And, you know, obviously it's not a good thing when people kill themselves, but I think to criticise the society because of it is pretty strange. I mean, I'd rather live in a society where 30,000 people a year kill themselves than live in a society where 30,000 people a year are murdered. You know, I mean, this is very safe, low crime society. You know, it's debatable whether suicide's a crime. Really, someone takes their own life. But I mean, I don't want to get into that. But you know, anyway, there's the suicide thing in Japan. It's just seen differently here. It's seen as a viable option. It's seen as an acceptable option. If you do it under the right circumstances, it's not considered to be a weak or a bad thing. It's just your decision that you took your own life. So, you know, whether we agree with that or not, it's just the way it is. And I think, you know, if we want to understand, many people don't want to understand other countries, but if we do want to understand it, I think we just need to see that from a Japanese perspective, given their history and culture and religion, it's an acceptable thing to do. Japanese government's trying to reduce it by working on stuff like the depression thing and to find solutions to it, because obviously no one wants to see people dying. That's obviously not a good thing, but it's seen differently here than it is in the rest of the world. So anyway, that's suicide in Japan. I'll get back to making some more happy videos now.